Hello, and welcome to Across the Karman line, a podcast series where we talk all things space. Today we have the most amazing Pamela Hoffman. She has previously worked as a technical analyst at Boeing, working on the Delta II expendable launch system, and volunteered at NASA Lewis, formerly known as NASA Glenn. She now runs an organization called Everyday Spacer, which shows everyday people how to participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. She's also author of the book Your Itty Bitty Explore Space Now book, which has been classed as a #1 bestseller on Amazon. She also hosts a show with her co-presenter Jeff Miller live on YouTube and Facebook every Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll link that down in the description for you. Ms. Hoffman, we are thrilled to have you for our podcast series. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. My name is Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer, and at Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. I know that many people are very excited about space. They just think it's for rich guys or the government or something you watch on TV. It's not something for them. And I know hundreds of ways that people can actually do things for themselves. There are citizen science projects. You can launch a free Pong sat to space, and many, many more. There's stuff with ham radio operators. There's a ton of things involving really no cost to, you could, go to the moon with costs. Literally, there is a guy in China who's paid Elon Musk to take a flight to the moon. And everything in between. There's fun for everyone.
So when did you start Everyday Space, and what were your expectations for it going on?
So it was kind of a fluke because Everyday Spacer was the name I had for a blog, and I started that in August of 2012. It was going to change as I learned, what people were interested in most and what they liked, but it kind of took on a life of its own, and the name stuck. I actually created some meetups next. I had the blog going for a long time. I wrote about 120 articles on really things you can do in space, and that's just what I knew about. And then we really, started delving into different things like the book I wrote, and where can you take this? How can you help people is kind of the underlying idea here. How do you show people what you can do? And so we actually have a show on Friday nights. We go live on Facebook and to our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific time, and we'd love to have you folks for a guest, in fact. And we just really, we have kind of two goals for the show right now. We want to demonstrate the things that real people are doing involving space exploration and science and astronomy, and then we want to have fun. So that's the big goal for right now, what we're doing, and how we want to, help people get involved, really to have fun with this. It's not just for rich guys. It's for everybody, absolutely everybody.
So with Everyday Spacer, I understand that you want to get other people interested in space, but I wanted to ask, what got you interested in space in the beginning?
Oh, yeah, thanks very much. So, when you're young, like I was in my 20s, and what am I gonna do with my life? I actually found a couple of really great tools to help me figure that out. One is the What Color Is Your Parachute book. It's a book that Richard Nelson Bowles produces pretty much every year, and he has you go through all these exercises, and it's wonderful. You learn your highest, strongest, most favorite skills, and it can take you a really long time. I probably spent about 600 to 1,000 hours doing that, what I call basic research. I also found a really, really great book called Wishcraft, Wishcraft, and it's the subtitle, How to Get What You Really Want. That's by Barbara Scher with Annie Gottlieb, and it's a very friendly book. If you spent like 2 days solid doing the exercises, you would come away with an actual plan on how to get what you really want, like the very next thing, and getting what you want really changes you, so you go and do it again. The thing about the Wishcraft book is you create this sort of roadmap, and you can put it on your wall, and it helps you to follow bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be with, some very specific stepping stones. So I did this in 1991 and I put it on my wall. And my first objective was to put aerospace into my life every day, all day. That was part of what I learned from all the research I had done. So I'm looking at the thing every day from my table where I eat. The realization of this happened in a couple of months. I actually accomplished it in 2 months, but it took me another 2 months to realize that I had done it. And I was sort of like, oh my God, I can do anything. It was incredibly empowering. And every time I need to kind of step into a new phase of my life or things that I really want to go for next kind of thing, I revisit the Wishcraft book and redo a lot of those exercises and come up with a new flowchart for my wall and start working toward that. And it's actually kind of magical, because I don't even do much, but things start coming. So, and in fact, I just did one recently, and then you appeared and asked me to be on this interview today, and it's quite incredible. I guess it has to do with you're setting your intention, but I think this could be done for everything. And actually, in the Wishcraft book, Barbara Sher talks about really getting anything. You want a husband? Use this process. You want education or a career? This is a great way to do it. You want to live on a farm and you're a city-bound person? This is a real good possibility for you. And I know not everything is going to work for everybody, but if you've been searching, I recommend this book incredibly highly. It has taken me so far. I think we'll talk about some more of it, but I've gone from being a single mom, home alone, and to being on kind of the world stage with the show and everything. So yeah, I think that would work for just about anybody. If you put a little time and you put your mind to it, I think it'd be really good for anybody out there. Books saved my life.
It's wonderful. I'll make sure to read it. The other thing was, so you have an impressive resume. You've done impressive volunteering at NASA.
Yep.
I heard about the telescope that you grounded, which was
yep.
I've tried it myself. It's very difficult to do. I got discouraged at the manual. The one other thing was your volunteering that I did want to get into. So on your website, you were talking about how you were receiving hundreds of letters a month, and I wanted to ask, what was your most memorable moment when you were working there?
When I worked at, it used to be called NASA Lewis. It's in Northern Ohio, and it's called NASA Glenn now. They renamed it. It was an incredible experience, actually, and we got letters from all over the world. Like I said, about 600 a month. The letters ranged from, asking a very specific question about something to send me everything you can about space, and we would try to answer them as best we can. Sometimes we had to send a farm letter, and we need you to ask something more specific, that kind of thing. But I think the most fun for me was meeting astronauts. I actually met Sally Ride when I was a volunteer at NASA Lewis. And then another incident, and I don't think it was when I was doing the volunteer, but I did get to meet Buzz Aldrin on the campus there. I think it was for something else, but yeah, that was very, some people like rock stars. I like astronauts. And I met two there.
So you've also worked as a technical analyst at Boeing, and you also got to work on the Delta II rocket with the expendable launch system. So can you tell me more about that?
Oh, sure. So I moved to Southern California in 1996, and I had a variety of jobs. Then actually someone from my church was working at Boeing, and he was my daughter's, he was their adult guide, I forget what they call them, but he actually introduced me to the idea of working at Boeing and helped me get a contract position there first. And then I was hired on full time. I think it was called McDonnell Douglas when I actually first started as contract employee. And then I was hired into Boeing directly. And I was a technical analyst on the Delta rocket, which is part of the Delta family of rockets, one of the most successful rockets in the world, about 90% successful launch rates. The area I worked in was called ground support electronics, GSE, electronics ground support. I forget what it is. But I'll just describe what we did. We dealt with everything from the computers that the operator sat at to the rocket itself. So this includes all of the umbilical cords and what it takes to make those, all the connectors and everything. We coordinated the machinery because all the equipment, the computers and so forth, were at Vandenberg Air Force Base and in Huntington Beach, where we worked, and also in Cape Canaveral, and we had a company in Connecticut that was helping us. And part of what I did, and I did a huge variety of things. I totally loved it. It was the very best job I'd ever had in my whole life, and I was doing space stuff, so it was really cool. The thing I did was to help make sure all of the equipment, the computers and everything, were working properly, and tracking them in a database. And if they had to go back, make sure they got shipped back. So I talked to people from all the different locations. Vandenberg Air Force Base, there were guys that actually worked there and launched the rockets and that kind of thing. Also Cape Canaveral, I didn't get to Cape Canaveral, but being here, I was able to go up to Vandenberg Air Force Base, and I got a little tour of like where they did the work, where the computers lived, and actually go up into the tower. So when it's called SLC, Space Launch, sorry, Space Launch SLC, Slick. So it's like Slick 6 would be one of them. The tower, basically helps you work on the rocket, and then it comes away, the rocket launches. So we got to go up into that tower and look around and see where it was that the rocket was launching from. So that was a wonderful experience. I was there for 5 years. And I really, kept getting promotions and pay raises and stuff. It was very. I think when you're doing what you love, it really really shows, and people recognize it. So I was really doing something I loved, and it was good. It was incredible. They did lay off like everybody who was a technical analyst at the time. And the poor engineers, they made them do all their stuff. Because I would do tons of different things. I ran packages around the campus. I did testing of different circuit boards, because my background is I have a 2-year degree in electronics. I was trained to design computers, so I could understand the engineers. There were about 25 of them on our team, and I did so many different things for all of them. I did computer-aided drafting for different things, and just whatever these guys needed, and we were really good. It was a really friendly, smart crowd, and very decent, very civilized, decent folks. Mostly guys, which was okay. But yeah, it was a really wonderful experience. And I'd never worked for a really big company like that before. I'd worked for really small companies. So that was a whole different experience too, just being in that environment where there's so many people. They had about 280,000 people working for Boeing at the time. And they've cut back quite a bit since then. But yeah, that was wild. And just to be working with the rockets. Very, very exciting. I loved it.
That sounded super fun. You touched on the point that you did electronic engineering.
Well, I have a 2-year degree in electronics. I was trained to design computers, and I think it would be more involving like the logic circuits and the math and technology behind it, that kind of thing. And a 2-year degree isn't very potent.
Mhm.
But I have done some really fun things with it, so no complaints at all. Someday I'll probably get another, couple of degrees, but yeah.
Did you did they require, because I know that some people would love to be a technical analyst in any sort of company, but was there like any other additional skills or like experiences that you needed in order to get to that?
No, I think one of the things that helps you the very most with getting the job you really want is making a good connection. I really had a great connection with my daughter's Sunday school teacher. It was more about having a little friendly help with that, and I think, yeah, absolutely, if you want to go for something, do all you can in the education department, especially if it's very, very technical. I think the more education you have, the better it can help you, it can serve you. It's sort of like a ticket in to some place, and if you don't have it, you would struggle a little bit more. But building a good network, I think, is important, and being a friendly, helpful person all the time, and you know, just having a real good attitude. I think that'll take you a lot, especially now. A lot of times, I'm seeing where the companies will not be as concerned with your credentials per se, your degrees. Rather, can you do the job? Can you make things happen with computers, or with programming, whatever it is that they're looking for. So I would think in terms of what is it you want to do, who out there is interested in that kind of thing, and then start building your network.
So I wanted to talk more about your book. So I saw
Sure.
I saw that it had like all these tasks and everything. So what made you want to write it? And could you just in generally talk like more about it?
So I had done this blog. I had, like I said, 120 some articles, and I started to think about, well, maybe it would be fun to put them into a very small book, and make it very easy for people to access doing these things in kind of a quick, easy manner. Well, I started to do the work, and then I'm on Facebook, and one of my contacts from an organization called KCL Space was saying, hey, we are doing this itty bitty book, and here's the actual book here. Sometimes it's hard to see, and then I actually have a Zoom thing we can show up little bit later on, but she was out there on Facebook going, oh, we're doing this small book, and it's 15 chapters, 2 pages each. She's talking it up, and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to work with them, because I don't know if you remember, there was a whole series of books, like the Dummy's Guide to, and very, very thick, very heavy duty, very, very technical in some ways, in some of the cases. And this was the same idea, but a much more accessible type of book. And I thought, oh, this is a great fit. We're kind of in alignment. I would love to check into this. So I actually wrote on the email, the website, and then I was like, I hadn't heard from her, so I'm like, I better call. And this is someone I knew. I just didn't know her super well. Of course, now I do. But yeah, it was a matter of really just, I think one of the most important things for you too is to be persistent. And I'll give you an example. Like when I wanted to volunteer at NASA, I called the woman once a week. I said, every Monday, I was like, hi, I'm Pam Hoffman. I sent in my application. I would really like to talk to you about being a volunteer there. And it was very nice. I wasn't being a pest, but I was very, very persistent. That is definitely one of my skill sets. Yes, I will pick away at it until I get it. So yeah, I think, if nothing else is working for you, try just, hi, I'm here. How about it? Can we do this? What do you think? Continue to, very nicely pester them and to letting you come on board. So yeah, it was fun.
So what do you think about the commercialization of space and, SpaceX and Blue Origin?
I am super excited about this, because I think we should have been doing it for a long time. And it's been really a matter of regular folks have basically gone to Washington and they've said, look, we need to do this. We need incentives for this. So I know some of those folks that went to Washington and talked to senators and different people about doing it. That's why we have this, kind of environment where the folks that are in business, like you said, SpaceX, Blue Origin, there's a whole bunch more out there, they are able to compete more readily in this environment with the contracts for getting the loads, the payloads, the launch loads. And it's really exciting to see. We were in the doldrums for a long time. It's really, really exciting to see how we're getting, we're making progress. We're making progress. We're seeing the SpaceX launches out there. It's generating a huge amount of excitement. I am so happy. It is so overdue. It is so overdue. And, even things like Blue Origin, we don't know a lot about it because they've been very hush-hush. They're holding their cards close to their chest. But even there, some really cool things are happening. I think we're going to have some incredible developments because we're kind of allowed to now, right? We're not quite as hamstrung about being able to do certain things. Once upon a time, it would take 12 to 18 months for, if there was an explosion like we've seen recently with the SpaceX rockets, they would have to go through this whole review board. It would take lots and lots of paperwork and meetings and qualifications, tons of stuff. Everything was brought to a standstill for months to a year and a half. And it's unbelievable to me, for one thing, that Musk can, in a few days be back on the launch pad launching. And it's great. It's great because absolutely things can happen. Space is hard, no question. And, to be able to jump right back in and iterate like that to okay, what was the problem? How do we fix it? It's very much business. It's going to bring us so far forward so much faster. And unfortunately, some of the companies like Boeing really missed out on some of those kind of opportunities because they had to go through all the red tape. I do not know what Elon Musk did, but
recently, last week, there was the Perseverance landing on Mars. So you were talking about how you actually got to see it built.
Yes. So I live here in a place called Thousand Oaks, California. I'm actually pretty close to Los Angeles, which is much more well known. And one of the advantages here is there's lots and lots of cool space stuff happening, right? One of the things that we were able to do for probably the 2 year the rover was taken away and launched was to make a reservation to go to JPL and visit the campus of JPL and see them building. It was called Mars 2020 at the time, and we knew they were going to have a contest and have young people of different age, different grades, different school age kids, write like a little paragraph on what the name meant and why it should be called that. And we, so at NASA JPL, you get to see a couple things. You get a little intro with a video in their auditorium, the von Karman auditorium, and then you get to go see the control room. They have like a gallery. You can look over the control room, and that's the same one you see on TV. And then we get to go see the clean room. And the clean room is where they build the Mars rovers type things. This particular clean room was empty for a while. I remember because I have some groups and I would take them over and we would go. I was trying to go every month. I was offering it to our groups every month. And then we would go and see. So sometimes the clean room is empty, right? Then they brought in the Mars 2020, and of course this was early on. We didn't know much about what it was going to do or what it was, what was happening with it. It used parts from Curiosity. They had made 2 of them, and so they brought them over to use on this Mars 2020 rover, which is now called Perseverance. We would see, and Jeff and I would go about once a quarter. We'd go once a quarter because it takes a little doing to get a reservation. And there's actually an online way now. I'll share that with you too in a minute. The rover. So we'd see the development of the rover. It would be they would build it, and then they'd have like the cover part, and they would, when we were in the gallery, they would tell us this is the cover part and this is the rover, and we'd see the people. and they'd be all covered head to toe in what they call a bunny suit, right? And this bunny suit helps to avoid like dead hair, dead skin and hairs from the body getting onto the rover. The clean room is actually like so many parts dust and stuff per million, and it's like super low compared to like here, which is, we have dust flying all over the place. It's nothing at all like the clean room. So they'd have to suit up and they'd have to go in, and you would see, and they'd take pictures. They're all taking pictures. It's really cute. And we would actually see them working on the rover. And what was wonderful about going once a quarter is you could kind of see the changes. And then they put a camera so you could watch it full time. And I mean, it was like a live webcam going. So it's been very exciting. They've been really smart about like building up the excitement. NASA has created something called NASA Social, which is a really cool program and very smart, because anybody who gets in the program, they have an application, and anybody who gets in the program, they ask you to get on Twitter, get on Facebook, and cover your experience while you're going through it. Live coverage of your experience as a regular person. I told you there's lots of ways to get involved with with the space exploration, and now it's online because we've gone virtual, due to the whole lockdown thing. And so, yeah, we were able to see the progress of Perseverance. And then the other day we were watching as they got the the message back from Mars that the lander got there safely and it transmitted its first pictures. So I've kind of seen the whole process from when we didn't know much about it, and it was just sort of pieces parts, all the way to watching people observe the landing on Mars. It's been really, really cool. I don't think I've ever seen like a complete, what we say here in the United States is cradle to grave. Of course, it's not dead, it's not done, but that whole process of seeing the clean room empty, and then the parts come in, and then building it and launching it, and now on Mars. So it's been really, really great. And I love it for like the public. It's another way to really get people excited. And JPL, you can actually reserve a virtual tour now. So they've just opened it up. I got an email this past week, and they gave me a link. So if you want that link, I will be happy to share it with you.
It's absolutely awesome that you actually got to see the rover. And now what you were looking at is like 9 months away on another planet.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And it was so exciting because they would talk about different things as they were building it, and of course they got the name and all the different aspects of it. I actually didn't know about the little drone until I was listening on. And I don't know why. It was like, that's a last minute thing, because I don't remember it being built, and I don't remember it being placed. And so I don't know what happened there. Either I missed it, I could have missed it, or it was sort of hush hush. Maybe it was kept secret. I don't know, but it's cool. It's cool. There's a drone on Mars now. So
what would you like recommend for people who are in areas with like higher light pollution, like in big cities and everything? So what would you recommend for them? Because it is kind of difficult to really see anything.
Yeah, I understand that completely. And believe it or not, you have some advantages. Because if you go somewhere that's really dark, there are so many stars, it's very hard to pick out certain things. And these certain things are things that are bright. The moon, great object. And you can look at it most every single night. It's best after the new moon, when it starts to become a crescent in the west, and it comes east every day, so it's waxing. At this point, it goes from new moon to full moon, and that's kind of the best part of the month because it's in the evening. If you like getting up really early, though, you can actually do something the rest of the month too. But yeah, the moon is a great object to study, because every single time you look, every single night you look at it, there's a different sector that has bright and dark. And the interesting part is where they meet. That's called the terminator. And the things you'll see is the shadows that the mountains and the craters create. And I've seen many picture layouts of like this very process of being different every single night. and showing. When it's with this full moon, it's all lit up and it's very bright. It's a little bit harder to see different things, but it's still a lot to study there, because every major crater has a name. And if you want to learn those names, I think that's a great project. Also, bright planets. I don't know if you remember last December when Jupiter and Saturn were together, that would be just fine to see from an urban location. I really like to see the space station, and sometimes it's extremely bright. The magnitude scale, it's kind of weird. It goes backwards. The smaller the number, the brighter. And if you think of a number line, 0 in the middle, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going in one direction, and negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going in the other, the smaller the number, the brighter. So if I have a 0 object and a -1 object, the -1 object is brighter. So the space station, at its brightest, I've seen -3.9, and that is pretty bright. And it's cool because it floats across the sky. It's not like anything else. It's not like an airplane. It's not like a meteor. It's not like a star. And there's people on board. And there's actually a website. It's I think it's how many people are in space, and it will tell you how many people, and it gives you their names and the country they're from, and I think a little bit more information, but you could go and look and then find out who's on board. It's like, oh, there they are. It's a really, really fun, I don't know, it's just fun to do. You can go out in your bathrobe into your backyard or out on your patio. If you're in a high rise and all you have is a little balcony thing, I would say take a look. There's a great site that will show you when and where to look, because that's the key. It's not just in the sky at any point. You want to know when and where to look. And I really love a site that's called Heavens Above, and I would say do a search, because there's a hyphen in there, heavens-above.com something, but they will give you all kinds of stuff actually. But the space station information there, I think, is a little better, because I get an alert through my email, and you can get one text too. But it's I think it's NASA's Spot the Station, and they'll actually they'll give you, oh, hey, look for the space station in if they'll send you in the morning for something in the evening, and they'll send you an evening alert for something in the morning, that kind of thing. And they come in bunches, so you could do this night after night sometimes, or morning after morning, and it's very bright. It can be very, very bright, and it's sort of a special circumstances, because overhead it's dark. But of course, the sun having just set, usually it's just set or before it rises, when you can see the rays of the sun hit the space station, and then you can see that even though it's dark where you are. So there's a lot of interesting parts to that you could delve into, even if you live in the city, even if you lived in London. And of course, the bright planets, there's 5 bright planets in the night sky. Of course, Mercury and Venus. And they are between us and the sun, so they're called inferior planets. And as inferior planets, you will never see them high in the sky like you'll see Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, the other 3 bright ones, because they are between us and the sun. They're orbiting inside our orbit between us and the sun. So that's a morning thing and a night thing for Mercury. In fact, Mercury's greatest western elongation was yesterday the 6th. So it's pretty high in the night sky in the morning before sunrise. And there's actually a whole cluster of things happening right there. So I'll just tease you if you want to go looking. I absolutely recommend you go looking. It's very low though. Let's say you lived in an urban setting and you had an apartment high in the sky kind of thing. That would be a great place to see this little cluster in the east in the morning. if you're a morning, if you're a night owl, a little harder. But if you're an early bird, that's the one for you.
I'll be definitely waking up for it. I remember last year I was trying to look at Mercury, but it was a little too low on the horizon for me to see. And then also on top of that, it was covered by trees. We had a massive oak tree outside our house, so it was basically impossible.
Yeah, that is the hard thing. I know on the weekly Space Hangout, which I periodically show up as a junior journalist, Fraser Kane, he lives near mountains and he never gets to see Mercury at all. Poor guy. But yeah, if you've got a very, very low flat horizon, or if you can get up high, like in a hill or mountain or a high-rise apartment kind of thing, that's a great place to look for them in the east right before sunrise.
I mean, what would you say, like, say that somebody doesn't currently have a telescope or binoculars or such, what would you recommend for them to like look for when like viewing it themselves?
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, even with just a naked eye. I would recommend a couple of tools. You can go to, it's called skymaps.com. The website helps you to find every month you get a chart. It's 2 pages, and I usually print them out front to back so that I can just flip them over. The front side has what I call an ephemeris, and it's like, new moon, full moon. These things are going to be in conjunction. And it's got a picture of the night sky, and it tells you when it works best. It's not very flexible. It's like at 2 specific times, but it's useful. It's useful for the night. And then the other side, it has a whole bunch of things that you can look for naked eye. With binoculars and with telescopes. It has a little glossary and a little bit more information, but that's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And I've actually printed that out and put the date on it, put people I've met, draw little pictures of like the moon, or if I see the moons of Jupiter, I'll draw little pictures of where they are. And it becomes a journal. It becomes your logging of this occurrence in your life of what you were able to see. And I've literally used the back part to just check off. I saw that, I saw that, I saw that. I mean, it's so easy and fun. And then, let me see if I can find mine real quick. It's behind me. It's a tool. It's called a planisphere.
Oh yes, I saw your YouTube video about it.
Good. Okay, so yeah, definitely check out, because it's going to be much more interesting. I actually demonstrate how you use the planisphere. And this is very flexible. You want to get it for your latitude though. If you're north or south, if you're high or low, and they'll tell you. There's a really great one on, the one I actually demonstrate, the big one I demonstrate, I got from Amazon, and I really love it. It's black, star. They represent stars in shapes, like the small ones and the big ones, and different brightnesses that you can see. But yeah, you can. It's a white background with black dots. It's a little bit easier to read, I think, especially if you're getting older like me. Old eyes like bigger and like a little better contrast, that kind of thing, and tons of information. It's a gateway drug, planisphere. Once you get a planisphere, you're like you're in it. You're gonna get more. And when you are getting into like telescopes and stuff, there's something called aperture fever, where you want more bigger and bigger mirror, lens, whatever. But yeah, simple tools can make a huge difference for you. It can be really make it a much more fun and fulfilling experience. I think just a couple of little tools that can be either free or like the planisphere I got. I think I paid about $20 for that. So not too bad. Not every budget, but not too bad. That's why I talk about like alternatives with skymaps.com. But you have to go every month, and you have to get the new one for the month. And I think London skies are a little bit hard sometimes with atmospheric interference.
I mean, the constant clouds, yes. I mean, I got a gift of the night sky and all that other stuff, and like the meteors and everything that we expect every all the basically the events. And I think I've used it twice this entire time, because it's been snowing, it's been raining, and I don't know, I'm just wondering like when I can get out into the countryside to actually, properly use it.
Yeah, I remember I lived in Northern Ohio, and there's always something in the sky. There's always weather. There's always hazy, very rarely clear. And when it is, it's like the full moon. And it's harder to do anything on the full moon. Involving astronomy, we talk about like full moon and new moon, because they're vastly different for the things you can see, the things you're able to see in the night sky. And like the full moon, it will rise at sunset and it's there all night. And it's fairly bright. It's in some ways worse than a city nebula because it's in the sky. It's very hard. So yeah, when people are talking about things, they will very often mention the phase of the moon because of that, because of how easy or hard it is to see other things. And I love faint fuzzies, so I always plan my star parties for basically the closest Saturday to the new moon. And as soon as things change here and we're allowed to, go to the park and have a public gathering again, I will start those up again. So yeah, that's so much fun. So much fun.
They sound fun. So thank you very much for today. And honestly, I think this conversation was like one of the most favorite things I had.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yay.
Thank you very much for this. And honestly, I think our viewers would enjoy it very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Hello everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Miss Pamela Hoffman. We are now entering exam season at King's College London, so KCL Space will not be filming any more podcasts for the time being. We'll be back with more episodes during the summer.